Okay, here we are. The time has come. Welcome everybody to the MachineMetrics webinar series. Today's webinar is entitled "Crossing the Chasm from Data to Action." It's great to be back here. Hosting our series. It's been a while. Glad to have people signing in from all over the world to attend. Grateful for your presence. We're going to do our best to make it an excellent use of your time. For those of you that don't know me or know me from back when, my name is Graham Immerman. I am the Chief Commercial Officer here at MachineMetrics. I oversee our go-to-market, sales, marketing, business development, and I'm going to be your primary host. But I am joined by a very special co-host for today. Somebody I respect and admire a lot, and also happens to be one of the coolest, most fun guys I know. Mr. Matt Townsend, CEO of Sparc Engineers. Matt, give him a wave. Thanks for being here today, Matt. Really excited to have you joining us. Just a couple housekeeping items before we get things started today. This webinar is being recorded, so fear not. In the event that something catastrophic happens, and you have to leave early, we will send you a link so you can distribute it, share it, watch it 100 times again after, if that's your thing. Questions are welcome throughout the webinar. So on the right-hand side of your navigation, the Zoom, there is a Q&A button. So you can click that, ask questions. We may answer those in real time. We may hold on to those for the Q&A session at the end of the webinar. And there also is a chat section. If you guys want to talk amongst yourselves, you're welcome to do so. And you can also ask questions there, but Q&A, put you in the queue literally. So we can get those questions, and seriously, bring the heat if you can. The agenda today is quite simple. We're gonna, we just did our, basic introductions. I'm gonna give you guys just like a very short spiel for those of you that don't know us on who we are here at MachineMetrics, and we're gonna skip on right into the presentation where Matt's gonna take the meat of this and talk, about his tremendous experience and how Sparc Engineers works with organizations to transform the data that they capture into action. And then at the end of that, we're going to do a Q&A. So for anyone that has any questions, we'll save time for that. Of course, I am here representing an organization many of you know is MachineMetrics. And our company was really founded on some core principles, but things have changed. I think all of us know that, right? The global supply chains have changed. The number of people working, in this space have changed. Compensation has changed. Technology has changed. And today's challenge, I think, for manufacturers has really been, hey, we need to make more stuff, right? Faster, cheaper, with less people and less resources than ever before. Easy, right? Not so much, right? Analytics, right? We all know data, analytics, right? You watch the Watson commercials on TV. It's like, hey, data, machine learning, analytics is going to solve all your problems and make your business, more efficient and effective. But I think the truth is that many of us have tried to use the analytics tools of the past. They're not cut out. And there's a nice metal cutting double entendre for you. But they're just not. They don't cut it anymore. They're not solving problems. They take too long to implement. They require too much manual data entry, the time-consuming nature of their deployment. Manufacturers just sort of get stuck, right? That leads to this, this number. We report on it every year. And MachineMetrics was this crazy, 28% machine utilization, which is the average rate of usage of machines that we see across the organization, across all the companies that use MachineMetrics, right? Yet, buying more machines, right? Spending a lot of capital, right? We're trying to get more people in to run these machines, right? And the real question is, well, is that the best way to grow our business, right? Maybe for some it is, right? But we've seen that there's a lot more to get out of what you have today. And that's why we exist here. MachineMetrics is really introducing the next generation of production analytics by providing a platform that makes it incredibly easy to capture real-time data from your manufacturing operations and transform that data into automated insights that help, whether it's your factory level operators, your plant managers, your executive trying to make big decisions, the insights that they need to make the big decisions that matter to improve your business and take the organization right to the next level and into the future of manufacturing. And I think for a long time, I think products like, on the market were sort of considered this, monitoring of machines, right? And I think the concept of monitoring has changed a lot. And I want to urge you to think about MachineMetrics as far more than just machine monitoring. What we're really doing is taking the data that's happening from your operations. We're marrying it with operational context. So it's not just, are my machines running, but it's, what are we making? What is running? When is it due, right? And we push that data together, and our system spits out these automated insights that help, like I said, whether you're at the machine level, the plant level of an enterprise, have the data they need to make the decisions that matter, whether it's, we need to reschedule this machine, or, hey, our cycle time standards are inaccurate. We need to, we can quote this better, more effectively, and deliver it faster. If it's the enterprise level, hey, why are we spending so much money on capital equipment that we shouldn't be? Or maybe we shouldn't be making these parts after all because we're terrible at it, right? Or maybe it's insourcing or outsourcing, right? But the data and the insights that we derive, and we do it very easily, tell a story, all of which help our customers improve their business. And there's a lot of them. There's a reason why we've been so effective. I think when I started here 7 years ago, there were, a lot of players in the space. I think MachineMetrics has really, become sort of the unequivocal leader in the space. And, this slide's sort of a humble brag, if you will, to just talk about the hundreds of customers and thousands of machines that, have been connected to our platform over the years. Obviously our product, made here in the USA. We're headquartered in Boston. We're a very well-funded company. So fear not, we'll be here for a long time. Our recent funding round from Teradyne, the owners of Universal Robots, has a lot to do with that. And obviously we've won a lot of accolades and awards over the years that help us, just continue to, get that validation from the industry that we're doing something right here. And, I would just note that, we work with mom and pop job shops all the way up to some of the largest companies in the world. The platform's highly extensible and extendable to be configured to fit a number of different use cases. But why listen to me? I have everything to gain. I like to, let our customers do the talking. And these are just a couple examples of the companies that have used our platform to improve their business, whether it's, increasing their capacity by $20 million to improving their OEE by 43%. I know somebody here that did that really well. Whether it's, hey, improving our machine uptime by 27% or increasing our utilization by 20%. On average, our customers see a 20% increase in utilization in the first month of using our product. And there's a reason for it. It actually works, and it does what we say it does. At the cutting edge of innovation, we continue to improve and provide more and more and more capabilities and resources that keep us the leader in the space and what we do. And the best part about all this is, you don't have to write any custom code, right? You don't need to hire any expensive integrators, and there's no manual data entry that's required to use MachineMetrics to create those automated insights to improve your operations. And to prove it, we've recently launched our free trial program that makes it, easier than ever to actually experience the benefits of MachineMetrics for yourselves, without a commitment to, have to purchase it. I'd like to think that you will. I think we've got about, it's like 8 out of 10 people that go through our trial program, end up, purchasing our product. The other 2 don't go with competitors. They just make a decision they're not ready yet, and that's okay too. We're going to talk a little about what readiness is and how we can ensure that you're ready for a product that helps improve your business like this. But it gives you the chance just to try it out, experience the product for yourself. It's really easy to do. And for people who've tried it, like some people here, that program really it helps provide that value and scale without overthinking it, right? You get a chance to try it, experience it for yourselves, and sometimes touching and feeling something is the best way to know that it's something that you absolutely need and require. Now, enough about my spiel. Forgive me, it's my job. I'm going to turn the reins over to the real professional here, Matt Townsend, who's going to tell you a little bit about himself and run you through a presentation. Matt, when you need me to switch slides, just say next slide.
I think I can do that.
I know you can.
Yeah, yeah. Thanks for having me today, Graham. Really excited to be here again with MachineMetrics and the presentation that I'm going to show. We'll talk quite a bit about the case studies that have been done before with MachineMetrics, but I'll also speak to what Sparc Engineers is doing as well. So a little bit about myself. I'm the CEO of Sparc Engineers. We are a consulting business focused on IoT implementation, machine monitoring, MES, and automation systems as well. So I've spent some time with MachineMetrics. I've had two successful implementations, one with Paragon Medical and another one with Avaline Technologies. Both are contract medical device manufacturers. In addition to that, I have my education listed there, but I've also spent time at some extremely large organizations where I learned a lot of useful information about how large companies get things moving. And then in addition to those, I'm also on the board of directors for the Society of Engineering Management Systems at the Institute of Industrial Systems Engineers. That's a mouthful, but I'm on the BOD for the SEMS at the IISE, as we joke about, just to shorten it up and make it easier to stomach. And I've been doing that now for a few years, really involved with the Institute of Industrial Systems Engineers because it's a great organization. And I would invite anybody that's on this call to join the IISC and get involved with it as well. All right, next slide, Graham. Okay, so case study one, got in with Avaline. So I've been involved with MachineMetrics now for, this is my second implementation was at Paragon, so 2017. So 6 years I've used MachineMetrics, and boy, how it has changed over time. It's been pretty incredible to see all of that happen. But Graham, if you want to go to the next slide here. So Avaline Technologies, they produce and supply surgical instruments and implants, and they're headquartered out of Illinois. Have several facilities across the United States and one in Germany, I believe. And with Avaline, when I started there, we had MachineMetrics on 12 machines, I think it was, mainly because it looked good for customers when they came walking around in one of the facilities. And you can go to the next slide. And with Avaline, our problem was using the data. So we had a consulting company come in and say, hey, we have this brand new idea. We're going to track OEE, but we're going to do it with pencil and paper. And that just blew my mind that we had this system in place that we weren't utilizing, and we were going to rip it out and use pencil and paper to track our OEE. With that, we would lose visibility of how our operators were handling the machines, how the machines themselves were running. We would lose visibility of any real-time data because we'd be moving backwards in time to a solution that we had to wait for an entire day in order to gain any insight as to how our operations were running. And that was a big problem. You want to go to the next slide? So with this, we started to use the data that we had. We started to dig into it more, and realize that we only had it on, like I said, 12 machines. We needed it on our bottlenecks. So we decided to move to our grind machines. And with the grind machines, they were considered the bottleneck of the entire organization. Um, Trying to understand how products flowed through there, what the cycle times were, how we could better utilize those machines because everything waited on them. Well, as we implemented, what we found out was something completely different. In that, if anybody follows the theory of constraints, those constraints move. Um, so what was once the grind machines at Avaline then became the lathe, and understanding that the lathes were feeding the grinders and products getting backed up um, in the process. So then it was okay. Well, how are the lathes running? So implemented MachineMetrics on the lathes, found out that setups were a big issue, and then started to tackle those setups aggressively. Um, I believe that we went from that Avaline went from 3 hours on a setup down to an hour on some of their larger lathes. They got down to, I think, 15 to 20 minutes on some of the smaller lathes. And it was a huge improvement to allow that product to flow to the grinders more efficiently and effectively. So that way, then it helped build back up that area as the bottleneck, and then we could attack further. So, Graham, if you want to go to the next slide. So with that, that was the clear um, line for Avaline, was that the operators would say, hey, we don't have any work. There's no product coming to us. So we're not the issue. That's when we decided to move it to the lathes, because until they looked at the downtime Pareto that is standard in MachineMetrics, it was always a guessing game as to what the answer was and why that product wasn't flowing through the facility as fast as it should. Another issue that was found out was that there were deficiencies in the operators' training. So Avaline spent a lot of time building up the training for their operators to better handle that product. There were standardized training methods, training procedures that were put in place, trainers that were taught. And then so once they fixed that issue, then it came down to, well, so we fixed the flow, we fixed the training issue. Now we just don't have enough people. There was already automation on those machines, so even with all of that, there weren't enough operators to man the machines. So that was the third round of improvements that were made, and with that, they were able to really take off in their cutting instruments facilities specifically. So they had a great team at the time. I think they still do, and they were able to improve quite a bit. So it was fantastic. Graham, you want to hit the next one? So, in order to get all these things done, there was a lot of work that needed to be done. So with MachineMetrics, there were MachineMetrics is really great at getting you to the first why in a 5 why analysis. That's the first thing that pops up is categorize the downtime, right? That's your first why. So why is the machine down? Sometimes, and even recently, in the past few years, MachineMetrics has added another category or subcategory to their analysis of their downtime, which then gets you to your second why of the 5 why analysis. So you could say, hey, we don't have anybody to run this machine. Why? Because they're tending another machine. So that gets you to your second why immediately on your Pareto. without any questions that need to be asked, without any additional analysis that needs to be determined. Very, very quick in order to get there. So, with this solution that we have uh, with MachineMetrics, the Avalon team was able to do all sorts of things. So put functional tooling, had it more towards the point of use, uh, optimize scheduling, optimize the lathes, and then the new training process. They were off and running. So Graham, you want to hit the next one? So the quantitative impact of MachineMetrics for Avalon was huge. So it had a huge impact in OEE, reduced downtime by over 14,000 hours. And that was just during the time that I was there. They've since taken it further, which has been 3 years since. So they made a huge impact in a short amount of time with utilizing MachineMetrics. So kudos to them. Next slide. So with this has been with the qualitative impact, uh, they're able to take the data, but then provide that information to managers. They're able to look at the integration for the ERP system. They were able to really assist customers in getting their products. Like I said, they're a contract medical device manufacturer. They use this information to supply an OEM in the medical device space. So with that, they could track orders, know exactly where they are, how well they're running, um, how long it would take in order to complete it, what their scrap rate was, any sort of non-conforming issues, downtime codes, all of that information they had, and then could pass that over to the customers or provide it to their managers, so then they can make better game time decisions when they're out on the floor doing their Gemba walk, looking um, for ways to improve their operations. So it's been pretty exciting to hear about their successes even after the fact. So that was at Avalon. The second implementation was at Paragon Medical, and they're also a contract medical device manufacturer. 15 facilities across the United States, Poland, and China. Just added 2 more facilities in the past few weeks. So there's information on their LinkedIn page about that. Very exciting for Paragon. And they have over 1,000 CNC machines focused on drug delivery, case and tray, surgical instruments, orthopedic implants, single-use instruments, all sorts of amazing things that they do. I mean, they have an entire facility dedicated to spring production for drug delivery devices, which is fantastic considering that that's how a lot of the pharmaceutical companies are headed. And just an absolutely amazing company to work with and to work for. They have a great group of executives who are extremely intelligent and know their customers, but also understand how their organization works and how to build a company culture that's successful. Next slide, please. So with Paragon, they're aggressively growth focused, and that can be said with the 2 recent acquisitions in the past like week and a half. They're using MachineMetrics in a way that's allowing them to remove previously unknown roadblocks, using it to focus on time delivery, quality, and cost, and really give a voice to their team members so that way they can improve their operations. And one of the things that's said around Paragon a lot is you can't fix what you don't measure. And using MachineMetrics was instrumental in allowing that data to be gathered at Paragon. And when Paragon started the journey to look into machine monitoring solutions, they looked at 12 different um, systems, similar to MachineMetrics. Some of them are different. Some of them are have DNC capabilities in their offerings. Some of them are personalized, where they have to build it themselves. But at the end of the day, MachineMetrics was chosen not because of any previous relationships with MachineMetrics. They did have one site that had MachineMetrics already, but with even though we're evaluating these 12 different organizations to go with, MachineMetrics made the most sense for the application. And the data that Paragon was going to get was going to be highly important to evaluate and utilize and essentially improve upon. The next slide. So one of the great success stories with MachineMetrics, and you'll see this a lot in the case studies that have been done already with MachineMetrics, is you'll see that flash across there: Paragon doubles capacity, Paragon doubles capacity. It was actually true, and started using MachineMetrics and really digging into the data back in 2021, understanding what the issue was, trying to come up with a solution, and then focus on the growth aspect. Improving that capacity for growth was huge. We always talk about hidden factories, right? Finding the hidden factories. There are hidden factories of capacity within every organization. And with Paragon being a high mix, low volume organization, their bread and butter, as well as any contract medical device manufacturer, is really around setup reduction, and also around manpower. So if the downtime Pareto is pointing you in the direction of it's a setup issue, or the machine's down because you're looking for parts for setup, or you don't have the people to run the machine, those are relatively easy problems to solve, as long as you know that those are the issues. So with finding the hidden factory, no new hires were done to increase this production through one of the facilities, and no machines were purchased as well. This was done by looking at the data, which pointed to we didn't have people to run the machine. And then what the root cause analysis is that we had people, that they were in other areas. And in order to get more product through, we had to focus on cross training in order to get those folks at the right place at the right time. So I always say creativity before capital, right? So trying to ensure that you use what you have at your disposal before going out and spending money on additional machines that then you can't run because you didn't solve any problems. So back in September, started off at utilization 27.7%. In March, it was 43.2. The number of hours that were being run went from roughly 1,000 on average to over 2,000 time in cycle. Good parts went from 5,200 to over 1,000, and OEE went from 55% to 71%. As the data kept going, OEE actually got up into the 80 to 85% as time went on, which was fantastic to see that sustained through the rest of that product life cycle. And the great work that the Paragon folks were able to do once they had that data was just phenomenal. Next slide. So the whole reason why we're here is asking, what do companies need to do in order to be successful with a machine monitoring implementation? Number one is a plan to implement. I hear it all the time that it's plug and play. It's really easy to do. You just plug it into the controls, you're off and going. It can be that easy. There needs to be some organization around being able to, if you need to have the networking done, if you need to purchase switches for your organization, if you need to have digital I/O kits installed on the machines because your lathes are 30 years old and the controls aren't compatible. You know, those are some of the things that need to be thought through when you plan to implement, and then have a plan to train as well. And MachineMetrics has a really great customer success team that can help with the training and provide a lot of that information, as well as to hear the different types of training that's done. And the second one is have a champion. So, and what I mean by that is have someone who's going to be not just the cheerleader for this implementation, or the person who's the go-to, the person that's trying to herd all the cats, so to speak. You need to have someone to really lead the charge and help the site identify areas for improvement, because sometimes in the data things can hide. They can be masked by other things. So the champion is somebody who can really help along those lines and look at it from a different perspective than those that are in the weeds. And then third is a roadmap. So with all of the different use cases for MachineMetrics, it can be really difficult to determine the best course of action. So are you focused on utilization? Are you trying to increase your capacity? Are you trying to just focus on cost? Are you looking to looking at tool life management? I mean, what is your goal with it? And with that in mind, you're not limited to only doing one, but you can do several. But you need to have a roadmap in place, you know, with getting it installed, validating the information that you're getting is correct, implementing tablets, uploading jobs, doing all of that information. You have to have all those things done ahead of time, so that you can finally use the information that you're getting. And it can be sometimes arduous, but it can be really, really great and very helpful. Next slide. So who is Sparc Engineers, right? So I'm just some guy on here talking about different things that I've done while working at other companies. So I decided to start Sparc Engineers and be available to help other companies with these things, help to get them to where they can be super successful utilizing MachineMetrics, and identifying areas for improvement, getting things implemented, and driving clients towards obtaining tangible benefits using these things. So had several successful implementations, avoiding millions of dollars in capital equipment. I think that in one of the case studies, we chatted about avoiding having to purchase millions of dollars worth of equipment. I think it's upwards of 10 at this point in time recently. So it's a pretty big endeavor to reduce the need to purchase machine tools, and saved thousands of hours of lost production. And you know, I've loved what I've done, and I wouldn't change it for anything. Avalon and Paragon are great companies in what they do. Like I said, Paragon has a great runway ahead of it, and with their CEO at the helm, they're going to be unstoppable. So they're in very good hands there. But what Spark does is we provide support to ensure that your company is successful with any IIoT solution, not just MachineMetrics. We're also partnering with automation systems. We're partnering with tool management vendors as well. So we're doing a lot in the IIoT space to really give a complete package if people are wanting to go that route. So also we do operational assessments. So understanding what how the operation is running, identify any gaps that can be fixed quickly, and then providing a roadmap to benefit. So that way they can see what needs to be done in order to fix some of the issues that they're having. And a lot of times it takes an outside perspective to see some of those things. And it can be very, very helpful for organizations in order to do that. And the same can be said for manufacturing M&A activity as well. So looking at companies that are looking to either get acquired or acquire others, go in there and assess the operation, look at the machine information, how well the operation is running, and help provide support to really help companies grow with what they have. All right, Graham, next slide. So our focus when looking at the implementation of things like MachineMetrics is really improvement of the non-value added activity. So on this little thing over here to the side, the gray bar is open capacity. Red is downtime, yellow is setup, green is production. So, and it kind of goes down that list there, but this is how we go in and improve things. Improve the non-value added activities, reduce those, right? Your non-value added activity is your setup time. Improve the machine sources of loss, so reduce those downtimes. Improve your job standards, reduce the green times, and then improve the job scheduling, so then shifting things around in order to run back to back and still meet your customer demands. That is a lot of our pathway to improvement with machine monitoring solutions. It's oversimplified here because there's a lot of work that needs to be done in order to identify those areas, but we'd be more than happy to talk with anybody about that. Next slide. So, get a hold of us. Let us know how we can help you. If it's talking about machine monitoring, we'd be more than happy to. If it's about operational assessments, same, automation as well. We're bringing the team back together. One of the guys I used to work with a long time ago is going to be joining Spark as our principal engineer for automation, and he has over a decade of experience with automation, so it's a pretty big deal to have him on board. But the participants of this webinar, so all the 100 folks that signed up have access to a complimentary operational assessment where we can talk about some of the issues that are happening at your organization and see what we can do to help. So, and you can also reach out to me directly. My email address is listed there, and that comes straight to me.
And all we need is your mother's maiden name and social, and we'll be good to go. No, I'm just kidding. No, Matt, that was awesome, man. I mean, we for a long time, at MachineMetrics, we sort of, it's like a long running joke. If we could just clone Matt Townsend, we'd be really fortunate. And as it turns out, Matt, by starting Spark, is, sort of doing that, right? Making, himself available and supporting, our customers, current customers, as well as prospective customers, as well as anybody else, right, that wants to, use technology and improve their business. And, we are excited to have Spark, join our partner program. For those of you who are interested, you can check out, our partner program at machinemetrics.com/partner-program. We can learn more about that. But, Matt makes such a great partner. We've worked together for years, and he's been a great partner as a customer. And we're even more excited now to have him working together with us as part of our partner network. And I do want to reiterate for anybody who's here the value of what Matt just offered. Sometimes I'll call Matt with questions about data and how to leverage it, and Matt has offered for anybody who's here attending today, essentially a free introductory session. If I were you, I'd take you up on it. I know I will be, but I'll that's obviously up to you guys, but we'd be excited for you to do that. And he provided that contact info there that you can reach out to him about it. Now, good news, Matt. You've elicited a lot of questions here. So I'm going to just start taking them on. Obviously, we've got some questions about MachineMetrics. Got some questions from you, Matt, for you. So I'm going to just sort of like take them in as they come and split them up. And so one question that came in was around, making the case to management. I think, you've been really good at this, natural seller, but how can I right make the case to management for a solution like this? Is it something that Spark, MachineMetrics can help coach you on? And what is the key to getting technology like this approved?
Yeah. So what I found is finding the low hanging fruit for the use case, right? So a lot of that is machine utilization, making sure that your machines are running. One of the best parts about and Graham and I have talked about this ad nauseum, is the need for a free trial. And MachineMetrics came through on that. And with that data, it's no longer just, hey, I've watched all these webinars, I've seen these demos, here's what I think that we could do with it. It is, this is our data, this is what I was able to gather, this is what I was able to show. So that's been pretty huge going forward. But it takes a long time to prove that there are issues without the right data, or bad data. So garbage in, garbage out, is a common saying. So using the information that you have to prove that there's a problem is really hard to do sometimes, but it is doable. A lot of times when companies get to the stage of needing a machine monitoring solution, not all the times, but some of the times, they'll have on-time delivery issues, they'll have quality issues, they'll have staffing issues, and they won't know what's going on. They'll say, hey, we don't know what's going on. We don't know how to solve this problem. We don't know that there is a problem. It's just really hard to run. And that's where you can bring in someone like Spark or someone like MachineMetrics to say, hey, we need help identifying areas to improve upon. And that's where the operational assessments come in as well, is to say, hey, here's where you're at, here's some of the issues that you're having, and just point that out. It's pretty powerful that way.
Yeah, and I also hear some subtext there, Matt, which is like, how do you make this relevant to those
Yeah.
people? Sometimes, unless you're in like a really small shop, right? Sometimes like those little things, right? They don't ring as true to like, C-suite executives, right? So, how do you, take that information, what it is you need, and put it in the terms of the way that those guys can understand it, and, dollar signs tend to work really well. Right.
Yeah.
But also, being able to relate it to higher level, corporate initiatives. I've seen that be a highly effective way for a company to make this just more palatable. So it's not just some point thing, but it's like, hey, we have a corporate initiative, right? To solve these problems, right? And this is one way that we're going to do that.
Yeah. And for enterprise size solutions, like Graham, you showed it on one of the slides where you talk about the enterprise versus the facility versus the team, and how that information can be used for the machine, and how that information can be used. Now that there's that enterprise wide reporting, that is huge for executive leadership teams to understand how well their organizations are running, not just at one physical location, but you can see at a snapshot how well all of them are running at the same time. Similar situation with the company desk, where you can see how all of the machines are running in your location. So it's really huge to see some of that, just even from a productivity planning perspective.
Totally. Amen. I'm going to bang out a couple quick hitters because there's a couple coming in about the product in particular. So, anonymous attendee, love you, asks, what's the requirement for machines to work with MachineMetrics? And how do you know the machines are compatible? This is pretty straightforward, but essentially MachineMetrics connect to any piece of equipment. The way that we do that is dependent on the machine's vintage. Modern machines more often than not will support a connectivity protocol like MT Connect, FANUC Focus, OPC UA. They have their own proprietary connectivity, Ethernet IP, Modbus TCP for you super nerds out there like me. If those things are available, then we can essentially plug into the Ethernet port of that machine. We have a data normalization engine on the back end. So with about 2,800 different machine maps, makes, and models in our system, plug in, all that data automatically comes out. It's ready to be used. There's also old machines that don't have an Ethernet port, right? Using digital I/O hardware or even additional sensors, we can capture the I/Os, the relays, additional data items quite easily from those assets as well. We've had people connect machines as old as World War I or even record players to MachineMetrics. So it really is, it's a true differentiator in our product that makes it so easy for us to be able to connect to all these different types of equipment. If you want to know if they're compatible, the answer is they are. The question is how we connect the data and the different data items that we'll capture from those machines. But I would just note that when it comes to machine data, there's really only a couple key ones that we think are, customers care about the most, right? If you can get the program, that's amazing, because then we can scrape that program for what's being made in real time autonomously without having operators enter any information. And what's great about that is we can then associate the part and the operation that's being made with the real-time machine data without any operator entry. That's beautiful, because then you can provide those automated insights and analytics on your different jobs. So we can, compare cycle time standards or setups, to the standards within your ERP or MES without, any manual data entry required. So that's sort of the answer to that question. Question was asked, do we seamlessly integrate with ERP systems? Seamless, I guess maybe a man who doesn't mince words. I think we have clickable integrations today, like literally like one click with JobBoss Squared, and we're releasing our Epicor Kinetic clickable integration. The answer is that MachineMetrics can integrate with any ERP, whether it's out of the box or via configuration. I think the real question is about what is the use case for your ERP integration. I think that's really important to think about, right? And whether it's automating data transference, right, just reducing manual data entry, optimizing scheduling, quoting, or even a more like depthful traceability use case, those are all possible. And it can be seamless, right? It just depends on what the system is. For example, if you have SAP, it's like, well, they're all unique, right? So there is no clickable integration with SAP, right? You just need to, figure out what the use cases are, how your SAP instances run, and deliver that integration. Couple more, I'm just gonna hit these out and then we get back to Matt. Can we connect to Trump equipment? Yes. They're real pain in the ass to work with. I know I asked that question, Zach. Sorry, Trump. But they want you to use their
It's
German.
true.
They want, yes.
It's true.
Have you done those before with us?
Oh yeah.
Yeah, that's right. If you have OPC UA, you're good to go, right? Totally use it, right? There is like a charge to get OPC UA in their machines because they want to try to, force you to use their German engineered software, but it won't work on any of your other machines. So that's a problem. But yeah, I mean, we've got a number of Trump machines. I even just was literally demoing one earlier today and showed the real-time machine data coming in through the Ethernet port from OPC UA earlier today. I think I answered this question about JDE, but I think the real question is around comparing job standards. And the answer is, that is absolutely a core function of MachineMetrics. Whether it's, through a true API driven integration or whether it's by pulling in, job standards through an automated import, we'll bring in all those job standards into MachineMetrics and then test them like, using our automated production monitoring system against your standards. And we'll be able to show you, within a run or two, essentially, hey, are those standards actually, accurate or not? I'm going to skip to the end part of that. They're not. But that's okay, because the real-time machine data doesn't lie. And that's sort of the beauty of having, actual data to drive your decisions. Now, let me see. I'm going to get back to questions for Matt. Matt, in your experience, how accurate are GM GM forecasts, versus MachineMetrics data? Who's more
Yeah.
accurate?
Yeah. So MachineMetrics data, that's more accurate. That's a long story short. We've seen in my experience a lot of forecasts for production that just aren't true. And the problem with the information that's pulled from ERP systems when you look at the data around cycle times is that it a lot of times just wrong. Sometimes you'll see that a job is supposed to take 10 minutes per part on a lathe, and it takes 2.5. And that can really have a lot of issues when you're scheduling, when you're quoting, and when you're costing, depending on how you cost things. So getting that information directly from the machine is huge, invaluable even um, to have that information and then provide that to management and executive leadership to say, hey, our costs are 15% high because we were actually running this job a lot faster than, or this part a lot faster than what we said that we were going to. So we were associating way more cost to it than what we should have. So we updated the engineering master and updated our forecast, and it pulled everything to the left instead of pushing everything to the right. So it can be a huge benefit there.
Hear that big time.
Yeah.
Yeah, it is sort of amazing when you compare what's actually happening to this is our
Yeah.
forecast. I think data tells a story, right? And it tends to be a lot more accurate.
Yep.
All right, we got a couple more here. I'm going to try to bang through them. Um, Paul Parker Johnson, thank you for the question. Are there cases where the MM platform closes the loop automatically in the machine's controller? Ooh, love this question. The short answer to that is yes. For some of our customers, we actually have an algorithm that runs on our Edge platform where we're looking for tiny microfractures in tools, and those tiny microfractures in the tool oftentimes lead to scrap or bad cuts or even a broken tool. When that algorithm is triggered using what we call like a high frequency data capture from the machine, where we sample the data really, really fast and you're able to see these tiny microfractures. Our platform is able to actually place a feed hold using like a G-code change on the machine itself to stop the machine before the bad cut or the part breaks. But I think, is there a question, or is there always a message or an operator? The answer is, you can always do it that way, but the reality is some problems, right, they need immediate action, right? So in those use cases, it is possible to set up the system to do that. I would just note that that's not a cloud-based decision, right? Those algorithms would run on our Edge platform, where they would be triggered, and then they would be able to place, say, like a feed hold on the machine. For what it's worth, Paul, I think we're in the early stages of even seeing companies think of or even do things like this. I think a lot of people are afraid of having any sort of analytic controlling their machine, right, other than the one that sort of comes with the machine's control itself. I think just always being cautious to look at your insurance policies, right, and when you're buying machines, and making sure that whatever it is that you are applying to it keeps your machine under warranty and things like that. But yeah, I mean, it is certainly possible. I'd be interested in learning more about the use cases that you're interested in, and and exploring that with you. And feel free to reach out to us about it. Um, okay, this is a good one for you, Matt, because I know that you've done this. Is the implementation ROI and specific to just daily operations, or have you found other use cases for this data?
Oh yeah, yeah. And I kind of alluded to it, where it's not just the daily operations. You can look at it holistically across an entire organization to um, see. And some of this was done at Avalon, some of it was done at Paragon, some of it's done at other organizations that I've spoken to as well, where you take that information, and let's say you have a component that's running in uh, plant A and a component that's running in plant B, and you need to have them marry up at the same time. You can monitor through MachineMetrics and do more planning around that to ensure that your components are meeting up at the same time. You can check to ensure that you don't have to push things too much stuff to inventory, and really marry those up. You can use MachineMetrics to um, focus on your quoting process. You can use MachineMetrics to focus on your scheduling improvements. You can, and it's not just around the daily management, it's around the overall management of your organization and the flow of information. At Avalon, we used to have MachineMetrics meetings, and that's what we would just call them. We were just MachineMetrics meetings because we would just talk about the MachineMetrics. Um, and we'd all stand around in a room and talk about improvements that could be made, not just in the daily management, but the long-term management of the business, justifying equipment, looking at automation programs, different programs that we could put in place in order to mitigate some of the issues. So it wasn't just around the daily management of the machines and keeping them running. It was around long-term strategic initiatives that we were investigating.
Beautiful. Yeah, it's so true. That, I mean, there's really infinite use cases here. I mean, as you keep going, you can start seeing, the data we capture, helping, iterate design, and hey,
Mm-hmm.
like this product probably is, it's not made at the proper tolerances, right? Or, be able to
Mm-hmm.
show how, a certain design does not, perfectly, the code is not perfectly designed for, scale production, or there's you could go on forever. But I think the practical use cases are super clear, and we could definitely dive into some of those more. We're at the top. We're 1 minute left. There's a great question here. How do you get operator buy-in? Right? What's the best way for them to not resent MachineMetrics and think it's for tracking them? And Matt, I'm going to give my take on this, and we've only got quick ones, so I'm going to give you my 2 seconds, and then I'm going to give Matt his seconds. But for me, the best way to get operator buy-in is ensure that the implementation starts by making their lives easier, not harder, right?
Yep.
So
Yep.
yeah, I think a lot of people are just like, "Hey, this is all about us. We need these things," right? But it's like, well, if it makes their lives like crappier, well, they're not going to want to do that, right? Number
Mm-hmm.
one, right? So number two, how do you use MachineMetrics to make their lives better, right? That's a quick way to get people to buy into something. And then the second way that I've seen is incentivize their participation, right? So if you don't have a good incentivization program or something that, helps them want to participate, right? Like you can't really expect that people are going to help you for no reason, right? Not just because they get a small paycheck to do so. But Matt, I don't know if you've any other tricks that you've seen up your sleeve that has helped with that.
I mean, everybody always wonders what's in it for me, right? So why am I doing this? Well, the some of the ways the MachineMetrics has really helped to get by operator buy-in is by um, through their automations and workflows. You can use it to use it as a communication system as well. So that way, if a machine is down because there's something wrong with the quality piece of equipment, and they choose the downtime code for quality, it can send an alert directly to somebody sitting at their desk that they need to go out to their machine. Um, that's one way to get buy-in. Is another way is to, like Graham said, incentivize them to do this. And if you show them how to effectively use the tablets and use it as communication piece, and also what kind of information they're going to be getting from it, it should help them out quite a bit.
Yeah, it's all about team attitude, and having a
Yeah.
good culture, and just not just about pushing it down, but like, it's funny. I found that sometimes just, putting a couple people on like a little squad, and saying, hey, you
Hmm.
guys are part of the team that's going to implement this. It creates a little bit of ownership, and you can even, there's some tricks to that. Even like, giving them like, in the past we've like either given away like Digital Factory Squad hats and t-shirts. I know this sounds crazy, but it's like, you know, everybody else in the factory is like, well, why don't I have the t-shirt and the hat? It's well,
Hmm. Hmm.
you're not
Yep.
part of the Digital Factory Squad. Would you like to be? And it's funny how those like psychological, like, just how people want to be involved in something. They want to be part of the team. And that team attitude can really get people to involve. But I think, it comes down to relevancy. What does this do for me? And if it can do something like that for them, I think that's a home run. Listen, 2 minutes over. So I'm going to call it. There's, I think, only one question we didn't really get to, so forgive me on that one, but we'll get back to you over the afterwards. But Matt, always a pleasure. Just want to thank you so much for joining us today. This whole thing is going to be recorded and sent out shortly, so stay in there. Just remember, Spark offering these free assessments of your business for any of the webinar attendees. Take them up on it. It's such a good opportunity to do that. And obviously, if you're interested in the MachineMetrics trial program, go to machinemetrics.com/free-trial. Check it out. See if it's a good fit for you. And this is Graham signing off from the MachineMetrics webinar series. Thank you for joining us.
Thanks, everyone.